Welcome to today's master class. I hope you have been enjoying the previous sessions and I hope you have been blessed. My name is Joshua Bonney and today I'm going to talk to you about building a team as a servant leader. Building a team as a servant leader. Every leader works with a team and the accomplishment of every goal is dependent on the effectiveness of the team. And so this tells us that forming a team or building a team is very critical and very vital and very important to the successful implementation or achievement of a goal or a plan. So then someone who asks, what is a team? A team is a highly communicative group of people with different backgrounds, skills, and abilities with a common purpose who are working together to achieve clearly defined or identified goals. So, a group of people with different backgrounds, skills, abilities working together to achieve a common goal as what? A team. There is a difference between a team and a group, even though I used a group of people, but you realize that I mentioned that these people in the team are working towards what? A common purpose. There is something called a shared goal among them. They are just not working, like they are working, yeah, we are a group, but I have a different goal, you have a different goal, or I have a different, target, achievement, whatever, you have something different. No, a team is a group of people, working together to achieve one thing. And most experts agree that teams progress through what? Five different stages of development. Teams go through, different stages of what? Of development. So, as a steward leader, it is very critical and important to know the stages that every team goes through. It might not follow as I will say it, because sometimes to start from somewhere, get to somewhere, because most researchers believe that it doesn't follow coherently like how I'm going to share it, but sometimes it does. But a steward leader or as a leader, if you know these things, it will help you appreciate where your team is and what to do when you get to every phase of the ladder. So with these five stages, the first one is what? Forming. The first one is forming. The second one is storming. The third one is norming. The fourth one is what? Performing. And the last one is what? Adjourning or transforming. Let me take it again. The first stage is what? Forming. When the team is formed, I'll go into details. The next one is what? Storming. When we say storming, it starts with a storm, and so you should understand. And then the next one is norming, normalization. The next one, the fourth one is performing, and then adjourning or transforming. Now let's take it one by one. The first one, as I mentioned, was what? Forming. When we say forming, what do we mean? Forming is the first of the five stages of what? Team development. So as a leader, you have to know this. You will really have to know this. And it is when members meet for the first time. So when a team is put together at that stage is what? Forming. They are now coming together for the first time. Team members begin to gather information about each other. That is when they ask, okay, so what is your name? Where are you coming from? What did you study? What is your background? They are just trying to what? Find or gather information about each other and the scope of work. So we are asking questions, we are just trying to know each other. And team members set what? ground rules. So these are the stage where people really say, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? The early stages. And they identify expectations, because you see, a team, as I mentioned from the beginning, comes together to accomplish what? A specific purpose. So then they ask, okay, so what are the expectations? What are we expected to do? What are the ground rules and all that? A team also defines the what? The early goals and action plans during the stage. So they get to know what is going to happen throughout the whole period that they are going to be together. However, the task often entails what? Independent work. When a group is formed and they're in their forming stage, like the early stage, everyone tries to do independent work. They don't know each other, so they try to let everyone know Charlie they are the ogboro, so everyone does independent work, because an individual's need to be accepted. Team members often avoid conflict. So during those stages, everyone wants to be nice, trying to avoid conflict because they just want to get to know each other well. So, mostly they don't really show their real face. They put on a makeup, so their real face will be behind the makeup, trying to, be nice. At this stage, team performance is hindered because many issues are avoided. In the early stages, even when someone sees someone doing something bad, they'll hardly talk about it, because they are trying to avoid conflict. They are new, they don't, hey, you brought that attitude here again, that level, they don't want to bring it. So everyone tries to play it cool. Furthermore, team members can become confused about their roles within the team, which can lead to frustration and uncertainty. In the earlier stage, as they come around, people really don't know where to put their feet. So the early stages really are sometimes, full of uncertainties and frustration, because they don't know each other. They really don't understand what is going to happen and all that. And that is the first stage of every team that is formed. So as a leader, if you get to identify some of these things, you have to know that, oh, okay, so we are in the forming stage. That is why these things are happening. And then, latter part, I'll talk about how you can go about to, really make sure that people really are not so much frustrated that they don't run away from the team. Then from forming, we go to storming. Really, yes, you heard me right. Storming. During the second stage, team members begin to suggest solutions to problems and identify more effective ways to achieve goals. So at this stage, everyone is trying to show their ogboro. So that is where the friction gets in. Yes, and sometimes people fight. And these are the stages that sometimes, if care is not taken, the team will be dismantled, because it will feel like, no, 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 we can't work together. It is normal. Every team, and even marriage is a team. So there is a stage like that in marriage to storming, that each person wants to feel the ogboro. And so, there'll be a lot of friction, that, sometimes if care is not taken, it will break. But it is part of what? The team development. The team is expected to identify what their role is, what they are expected to solve or produce, and how they are expected to what? Function interdependently. So at this stage, they are getting to know that, hey, you are not in here to work for yourself only, but we are working together. We are in, you watch my back, I watch your back. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. So this stage, they have to know that, hey, we are in here as a group. And it's not like, one person just wants to be the icon. No, we are working together. Although team members engage in rich conversation, so at this stage, there are a lot of, even though there'll be a lot of banter, but most of them are filled with a lot of rich conversation. Maybe, one is seeing it at 6, the other person is seeing it at 9. Have you experienced that before? If you write 9, it depends on where you're standing. If you're at the other end, you see it at 6. If you are where I am standing, you see it as what? As 9. So it might be filled with a lot of rich conversation, but because of the friction, they might not say it. They are not very trusting and often question other members' what suggestions, motives, and experience. So they are not trying to really get to know each other. The storming stage is where we are getting to know what each other well. The forming stage is like we are playing so nice, nice, nice. But when we get to storming, we show ourselves, our real self. We take off the makeup, we take off all the covering, and then we are naked. And that is where the friction is. That is where the friction. Furthermore, team members often focus too much on details rather than the overall issues, which can inhibit what the ability to move past this stage of development. So sometimes people are focused on what details. People have a lot of hurt and all that, and past experiences, plenty things. So sometimes people don't go beyond the storming stage. The team will collapse at the storming stage because they don't have the capacity, they don't understand that it is part of the team development. So as a team leader, as a steward leader, you should know that storming is part of the team formation and the team development. So when your team gets there, when your followers get there, when your employees get there, don't think that no, it is too bad that now we have to end it. No, it is not. It is a process that you have to facilitate well, and then all of you can move into the new stage, which is what the norming. So after it has been formed, you go through storming where everyone shows their nakedness, everyone shows who they are. And after we've gotten to know each other so well, we get into the norming. And once a team is able to discuss and resolve differences, so when we're able to discuss and resolve differences as a team, we get to know each other and also, okay, this person is like this person is like that, and we're able to discuss and resolve these differences. The team enters the norming stage where members agree on a common goal. So now we know each other so well, and those things really help because you see, if we fight and we do those, we get to understand. But if people continue to pretend and hide behind the makeup, it doesn't help. So even if they disagree with something, don't say it. And if they are not saying it, it means they are not going to give it their best shot. But if they are able to say it in the storming stage, everyone gets to know who they are, what they believe in, their values, whatever they believe in. Then everyone will get to know, okay, this Mr. Simesi is like that, is like this. So then we come to a common ground, and then we have a common goal and a course of action to achieve the goal. So since we are norming, now we are getting to know each other. We get a common goal, a common action plan, to achieve our goal. The team demonstrates effective communication because really now we understand each other. I know the words that when I say it will offend you, so I won't say it because we've gone through the storming stage. And I got to really I really got the opportunity to know you well. So when a team gets to norming, there is effective communication. There is trust in members' abilities because we've gone through the storming stage. I know what you can do, what you cannot do. I know your abilities. So if we are assigning any task to you, I can trust your abilities. I know this person can do it. And there is positive cooperation. So whenever, as a steward leader, your team is going through storming, don't prevent it. Just facilitate it well. Facilitate it and know how you can push the team into norming when the time is due. And it will facilitate positive cooperation. However, even though some team members have to, concede, and all team members are expected to take responsibility for their decisions to be highly effective. So you see, and to get to a point where if it's prolonging, especially in the norming stage, some people will just have to conceive this defeat that yeah, I think you're right, and they reduce the storming stage, and then they can work and cooperate so well. And then also you will have to in the norming, you give people the ability to take responsibility for everything that they do. And after they've entered norming, they get into the fourth stage, which is what performing. So they formed a team, they've gotten to know each other to an extent, they get into no storming, it's been very heated, then they get into norming where it's cooling down, now we are knowing how to communicate to each other, we know what we have to accomplish, the action plan, and all that, and then we get into performing. And performing is what? The stage on the duration a team is expected to work together. So after we've normalized, we understand each other, then we begin to what? Work so hard, and we begin to work together because I know you, you know me, and we put our differences aside and we work so hard. And this is where you know um, members often share information, learn from one another, and are self-directive and what's motivating. The only challenge is keeping momentum. Sometimes when you get to that stage too, the leader, as a steward leader, you will have to keep momentum. You have to keep them moving. You have to keep them moving. And you will have to prevent them from going into the previous stage, which is norming, and then even into storming again. And you see, the only challenge is keeping momentum going to ensure teams don't resort back to previous stages, or if they do, they are equipped to move through previous stages quickly and effectively. So you put in mechanisms that will prevent them from getting into norming, storming, and even if they get into storming, they should be equipped to move through the stages what quickly and effectively. And you see, as a team leader, before you even start, as a steward leader, before you even start to lead a team, you should take them through this. Tell them about the stages in team development. Share with them. Tell them. So as when they get to every stage, they know that this is part of it. And so they don't run away from the team. And then the final one is what? Adjourning or transforming. And that depends on what? This is the final stage, and it depends on the duration the team is expected to work together. For project-based teams, so if it's a team that you are just working on a project, then there is a project is anything that it has a start date and an end date. So definitely one day the project will come to an end and everyone will have to go their way. And the challenge is that people, you will have to keep your people to remain positive and not lose focus. You see, the people that were fighting in the storming stage, now when it's about time for them to separate, then they are feeling some way because they've gotten to that stage that they've gotten to understand each other. They've gotten to appreciate the abilities of each other. I don't know if you've seen that before, you've even experienced that before. That you were in a team with someone, you got to a point you guys were fighting. But when you got to the stage where you had to separate because we're done with the project, you miss the person so much. Yes, it is part of the team formation. So for continuous work teams, team progress into the highest level of team development, which encompasses what developing as individuals and adjusting to changing demands and expectations. So, as we have project teams and we also have a team that will continue to work, in the organization for a very long time, with them, you have to make sure that they have the positive attitude and momentum and also the abilities to overcome if they get into any other stage in the team development stages. If they get into storming, norming, they know how to facilitate themselves into what? Performing, that they will perform and achieve their goals. So then, as a steward leader, how can you ensure team success? I've talked to you about the stages and what? And team development. And I mentioned what? Performing, storming, norming, no, sorry, forming, storming, norming, performing, and what? Transforming. Wow, you got it right. Now I'm going to talk to you about ensuring what? Team success. Although teams are expected to move from each of the 5 stages of team development, each team moves through them at a different pace and in a slightly different order. As I mentioned in my earlier, statement, that it doesn't necessarily mean that you move from stage 1 to stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Some will move from stage 1 into what? Performing, and then they'll come to storming. And then they'll move to norming, And so it doesn't mean that because I mention it in a particular order, like forming, storming, norming, performing, transforming, and so it means that is how your team is going to flow. No, it might not flow in that order. But each team moves in what? But every team is different and every team is what? Different. The following suggestions will help ensure teams are equipped to adequately what? Address issues throughout the team development process and become highly productive. So these are the things you have to take note as a steward leader. A steward leader must be identified to provide direction and guidance throughout the development process. So as a steward leader, you have to identify and provide direction, leadership, and guidance. As I mentioned earlier on in the subsequent, sessions, that leadership is cause and every other thing is effect. As the team is going through the processes, the stages, you, the leader, will have to provide direction. You have to provide guidance. You have to provide leadership throughout. And you have to ensure the leader is well accepted whoever. So if you're a steward leader and you are forming a team, and out of this team you are going to, let's say, appoint a leader, it is really not appropriate if you appoint a leader from the outside, but it is best if you form the team, you ask the team members to select their own leader, and that brings acceptance, because they say, okay, we selected. You know what Adam said to God? You gave me the wife, I didn't choose it. You decided if for me. You understand? You didn't give me the power of choice, especially when it came to my spouse. So now God says, hey, he who finds a wife has found a good thing. God says, if you find a wife, you found a good thing. So you should give the team members the opportunity to select their own leader, and with that they can take responsibility for everything that happens in the team. And then the next thing you can do to ensure team success is that the team must discuss and agree upon their desired leadership style and communicate their expectations. So they'll have to, as a team, they can tell their leader that this is the kind of leadership style that works with us, works best for us. So as a leader, you listen to all they have to say. There are some people who believe in dictatorship leadership. So if you don't dictate for them, they'll work. It's not the best, but so if you don't get to know what they want you to do, and you think, oh, this is the best leadership style, then you might not really achieve organizational success. So as you have the stewardship, or as a steward leader and also as a servant leader, you're having that at the back of your mind. You ask them, how would you want me to lead you? Although the leader will assume all three roles throughout the processes, during the first stage, especially at the forming stage, sometimes you have to be authoritarian. You have to exercise authority, especially during the forming stage, to make sure that the people are cooperating. And then the norming stage, you have to exercise delegative authority. You have to delegate more, and then when you get to the final stage, you have to exercise participative leadership. Involve the people. Involve the people in everything you do. The leader must be aware of the team's expectations and role for a leader. So you have to also find out that what role would they want you to play as their leader. What role would they want you to play as their leader? And with that, it will tell you, and it will help the team achieve a success. The team must determine how to effectively discuss ideas and agree upon an appropriate course of action. So you, as a team leader, you see, the whole thing about being a steward leader and leading a team is that if you especially have the right people and you just want to impose for them, you get the best out of them. But if you engage them in the whole process, then they will give you positive feedback and they will tell you how the teams can succeed. Team members must be mature enough to exercise tolerance and patience for individual differences. So this really is an advice during the storming stage, that we should all be tolerant and patient, and exercise that level of maturity and appreciate everyone's differences and opinion. And the last thing is, the leader must redirect the team towards the end goal, help reinforce define roles, address unacceptable behaviors, provide feedback, and facilitate team communication. So the team leader or the steward leader must redirect the team towards the end goal, especially when they get to storming and is getting overboard. The team leader will have to redirect them that, hey, it is enough, this is why we are here, let's focus on that, let's come together, let's work together and achieve our goal. And we'll have to address unacceptable behavior. You see, when it comes to organizational culture and building a culture that promotes stewardship, if you don't address or if you don't touch on some behaviors, really it becomes like the normal, because if you don't talk about it, it means that it is something that is acceptable. That is why Paul rebuked Peter in front of the people. And there is a way to rebuke. It's not everyone you can rebuke publicly. If the person is a leader, then the person needs to be rebuked publicly, because people see what leaders do as acceptable. So if it's just a follower, you can rebuke them in private. But if the person is a leader, then you have to rebuke them publicly, like Paul did to Peter. So it is expected of leaders to rebuke or address unacceptable behavior and provide feedback and facilitate communication. To end with, understanding these 5 stages of team development and implementing these suggestions can help ensure teams have the necessary skills and tools to move through each phases, especially the storming phase, and to ensure successful outcome and growth. A steward leader who knows that everything goes through phases and stages won't be worried when the team gets into storming. Mostly that is the critical point, the storming stage. It's kind of like do or die. If the steward leader doesn't know that there is a stage like that, then they will be frustrated and worried. But if you know there is a stage like that, then you will laugh over the storm and help your team get over to the other side. So one thing I want you to live with is that teams are important. The success or failure of accomplishing any goal is dependent on how effective a team is. The first thing is about selecting the right people as a team, and the next thing is facilitating the activities of these individuals to help accomplish the goal or the purpose of the team. A steward leader will choose the right people and the right procedure to lead the people into the promised land. God bless you and stay blessed. Thank you. Bye bye.